Hey Providence, Jourdan here with your weekly Bible reading plan video. This week we're going to finish up the book of Matthew, start the book of Mark, and also look at 5 different Psalms. So let's jump in. Andrew last week in his video told us that the purpose of Matthew was that Matthew wanted to show us and show the readers that Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. This is going to be especially helpful for us to remember as we finish up this book. I'm going to break it up into 2 sections, chapters 21 through 25, and then chapters 26 and 28. So, starting off in chapters 21 through 25, the Bible Project calls this the clash of the kingdoms. So kind of Jesus' kingdom and his followers versus Israel and the religious leaders and their followers. And you'll notice at the beginning of this, Jesus is coming in hot. He comes into the temple, he's outraged, he's flipping tables, and this is mostly due to the hypocrisy that he's seeing going on in what's supposed to be the temple of God, the presence of God. And he's doing that because he wants to assert his authority. He wants to say, hey, I'm going to challenge the authority of the religious leaders. I'm telling you this is not okay. And because he does that, he kind of begins this clashing and this debating back and forth in the following chapters between the religious leaders and Jesus himself. And in one of those debates, he kind of gives his final teaching to the people and to his followers. And in that, he gives 4 main points. First, he critiques the Pharisees. He says, you guys are being hypocrites. You say you know God and want to follow him, and yet you're acting in this way. That's not okay. Second, he foretells of his crucifixion, which would have been crazy because for his followers to hear that he was going to die would have just been devastating. Third, he talks about how Jerusalem and the temple, they're going to be destroyed. But good news, number 4, Jesus will rise from the dead, and one day he will return and he will restore everything back to the way it was supposed to be. If we're listening to this as one of Jesus' followers, we're like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. If we're listening to this and we're one of the followers of the religious leaders, we're also thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. At the end of it, Jesus gives just a final charge to his disciples, though, and he says, stay alert and stay faithful to announcing my kingdom. And so I think we should also take that same charge seriously as we're reading this today too. Second part, chapters 26 through 28. This is the climax of the story, you guys. In the beginning, it starts with the Passover meal. Something to note, Jesus starts by retelling Israel's rescue from slavery and the death of the Passover lamb. Why does he do this? Well, right afterwards, he institutes communion and talks about how now it's his death that's going to rescue the people of God from slavery and from evil. Something just to show, again, that he is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. He is this promised one coming. Next, guys, the biggest part. Jesus' crucifixion and his resurrection. Now, I could probably give you 10 different things to take note of in this, but instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is to challenge you to sit down and to really meditate on this section of the book. Take some time, read it a couple times, let something sit in, and my hope is that maybe for the first time something new sticks out, you're challenged by something, you notice a different detail of the story. We've read this before, guys, but we could never read too many times about Jesus' crucifixion and his resurrection, so take some extra time to read over those chapters this week. Lastly, Jesus ends with giving the Great Commission. This is in Matthew 28:19. And he, in doing that, he's saying, I'm the king of the world, and I've got 4 things to say to you guys. 1, tell all the nations of the good news. No one is exempt. Everyone is included. And 2, they can join the kingdom. The only things they have to do to join the kingdom are to be baptized and to follow my teachings. And then lastly, guys, something that we should all be encouraged by even today is that he promises, I will be with you. That is such good news, and ends the book of Matthew. A quick overview of the book of Mark. Providence actually launched studying the book of Mark 3 years ago. And one of the reasons that Andrew and Jared decided, hey, we're going to start by studying Mark, we're going to start the foundation of our church by going through this book, is because it's all about Jesus. Andrew, in one of his first sermons, kind of helps paint this picture by saying, if Mark was a screenwriter, this book, everything would be in black and white, and Jesus would be in color because he just so wants to highlight who Jesus is. What did he do? Who did he hang out with? What was he about? How did he live? How did he die? It's all about Jesus in this book. And it's fast-paced, but also clear to understand. That's going to be just helpful for us as readers. So the first half of the book is kind of answering the question, who is Jesus? The second half of the book is answering the question, what did Jesus come to do? Quick overview of Mark, but you'll dive into that this week. Lastly, we've got 5 Psalms. I'm just going to highlight the title of these Psalms, and one thing I want you guys to pick up on to listen for is the communal language in these Psalms. So, our eyes look to the Lord our God. Our help is in the name of the Lord. The Lord surrounds his people. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, unless the Lord builds the house. So a lot of communal language in that and throughout the Psalms as well. One thing to be encouraged by and to take note of is that we're not in this alone. That this is our Lord, our God. We are his people, and he has built a house for us. And we can be encouraged by that this week as we're reading. Hope these videos are encouraging to you guys. For those of you that just jumped on with us, we're so glad you're going to be reading through the New Testament, and we'll see you guys next week.